So hello everybody. So we're gonna get started on talking about the natural language index retrieval system. Now I've been thinking about how to actually call this this service, and after running a job applications a job board app for a number of years, I've started to pick up on a lot of recruiters and people in human resources have been, especially the ones on the recruiting side who function as consultants and as services. They keep talking about and ragging on about how the system is broken. Now, if your organization is doing well, doesn't necessarily mean that it's broken, right? Who has the confidence to walk into a business saying that they can make it better? If they could, and if they have the competency to do it, couldn't they say they can do a better job and then start their own business, right? So what I would like to do is it's not as if it were a discounting of the value of the product, but I would like to be very conservative in the regard of how it will interfere with daily HR operations and operations as a whole. So a lot of people have retrieval systems that are quite archaic. They function on something called a grep search, GREP. I mean, this technology is so old, it comes from, I think, the 70s, and we're still using it to this day. Now we've benefited from natural language processing systems. One of those being Google. I would probably say it's the best natural language processor. If you ask a question of Google, it will give you an answer, and quite accurately so. And even though it can't answer directly, it will point you to the correct answer. Now, for example, how do I scramble eggs? Right? It may even show you an article on how to scramble eggs. It understands the context of the question. And though it won't, and it can actually go further than that, but for reliability purposes, and so people do not become frustrated, they've actually held back from that ability. And a lot of people who are natural language processing are familiar with that. So a lot of these services and the technology behind natural language processing is already available. And I would like you to imagine for just a moment your organization having an indexed, cohesive knowledge of what is going on. So, for example, in regards to HR, right? Or bringing people into a business, like new hires. One of the major and largest issues is people coming into a company are not going to be able to be competent in their job, and so if you're professional, a lot of the times you're going to have to give that person orientation. Maybe they'll need to tag along with a team member. They'll need to look over shoulders. They'll need to ask thousands upon thousands of questions. A lot of people don't even realize how much time new hires absorb and take away from people who are familiar with the business. And the thing is, it's rare to find these businesses which have sophisticated retrieval systems, and it slows and bogs down the whole business because people find themselves repeating themselves over and over and over again. And if I'm pricing this in Hong Kong dollars because I'm based out of Hong Kong now. Originally, Opportunity.to was started in British Columbia, Canada. That's where I'm from, and in fact, these services can be consulted, internationally. We can provide these services anywhere. Though specifically, I would like to tailor towards this market because I've seen business is so good here in Hong Kong, they can run operationally with inefficiencies. Hong Kong's a great place to be a business owner. In fact, I read in the South China Morning Post that Hong Kong as a place has the highest productivity per dollar invested per employee. So for example, how much money you get out of your employee based on a hire, Hong Kong is the best place in the world. And I would recommend for anybody getting into Hong Kong to probably look at some of that data. I myself, I'm only getting started, so I would like to present what I have to offer and the large breadth of knowledge and observations I've seen by running a job application. And of course, you can always find our job application. It's Opportunity.to. It's a web app. You simply log in with your email or with your password. And though we've started that by addressing the immediate needs of the market, right? And that's not necessarily naive, right? A lot of people who have actually been doing business, they climatize to the needs of the market and then address it and benefit themselves. But the landscape has become so competitive, it's very difficult for a small organization. So what I've done with my business partner Martin, we're looking towards the future and we're trying to abstract that which needs to be but is not and render it into reality. So the modus operandi of most businesses is we are a blender. We hire people, they come into the blender, and we chop them up, and they become part of our business. And we take out, and because we generally like the parts of that individual we hired, we blend it up, and more or less they'll add to the overall, flavor of the soup that you're making. Oh my gosh, that sounds terrible, but everyone knows what I'm talking about, right? So if your organization is poorly managed, you're going to hire good people and they're not going to be fully utilized, or their competencies are not going to be maximized, and it has a lot to do with what would people describe as culture, but it goes beyond that. There are individuals who will function in one culture and will have a certain competency, and there will be another person with a certain competency, but they won't match that culture. Now, these individuals who have specific competencies that are in your business are actually almost impossible to find. Let me give you an example. So, for example, you are looking for a Hong Kong graduate, all right, with 5 years experience, okay, who can speak Mandarin Chinese along with Cantonese and fluent in English, who also has a specific specialization, and also whom is personable, socially sophisticated, forward, and potentially even extroverted or introverted, and also that can go past the biases of a hiring manager. Now, generally speaking, they don't those don't sound those things don't sound very specific. They can seem quite general, but through an order of magnitude, it compounds, and you'll find that there's literally nobody. And hiring managers and recruiters, they say, we can find qualified candidates. And they go around and they go poach from other businesses, and they send people green mail. Oh, come, you're working at this organization, come to our organization. We can do much better for you. And let's say you're successful. You bring this person into the business and you find out they don't even have the competencies you need. You got to look within your own organization. Maybe your own organization has the competencies that are valuable to your business, but you're overlooking those people. And those people may not even be extroverted. They may be introverts, or they may not have certain abilities that social abilities that makes them quite easily identifiable. They might be high in trait agreeableness, right? Like I said, they might be introverted, and they may even be passed over or observed as lazy. Maybe they're low in conscientiousness, right? And with these personality markers, a lot of people say, oh, this person, yeah, they get the job done, but they're not actually what we're looking for. But they're just steady as she goes, and they're not getting anyone's. They're not making problems for their organization, but they keep it running. But maybe one of the reasons why they're not a standout is because their competencies are not being rewarded properly. And our minds are basically reward driven. Our mind is a reward driven system. So if people are not being rewarded appropriately, then what's going to happen? The proper incentives are not there, and so people won't chase after that which the company needs. And so these are massive generalities, and it might be hard for a lot of people to actually pick up on what is being said. Though I would like to mention that this all can be addressed, and that is one of the reasons why, as a business, we are our job board. We actually are looking for more people to hire for our own startup. We've been going for 2 years, but we're trying to. No, we're not even trying. We're going to try to shift the paradigm into a space that doesn't currently exist. The reason being is because we are to serve businesses, and my intuition tells me that if we fail to go this direction with the information that we currently have, we'll be missing a massive opportunity. And I was trying to look for another word, but that's actually the name of our job app and services. So I really want you to contact me. So I'll be answering these emails directly. So info@opportunity.to. And also, let's go through a few of these slides so we can take a look at what I've prepared for us today. And like I said, all of this can be quoted for currencies across the board. So we can do anything, because this is it's a digital based business. We may need to fly somebody in to actually arrange some technologies within your own company, but otherwise it might be able to be done all over the internet, and it will function as a subscription service. But we would like to make a note that these pricings are quite generalized, and we put it at 3,000 Canadian dollars. The reason why is just that more or less the average median income in Canada is 36,000, and we would like to imagine that this service is not a replacement, but just it functions as a new hire, the smartest hire that you'll ever make. And so of course I would like to, a lot of people would question, oh, you still look quite young in the face, how dare you speak about HR recruiting? Boy, I've been in this business for 20 odd years. I know I've bought and sold how many recruiting businesses, firms. I've hired personally tens of thousands of people. I've done so many I've done so many recruits. Fair enough. Now, that there is a breadth of knowledge and wisdom and intuition to which people who are in that business will be able to speak in a much more eloquent manner, and I would urge everyone to actually listen to a lot of these old professionals, because they know what's going on. But what they may even know, but they may not be able to admit to their clients because they actually have a business to run themselves. It's a recruiter's business to uphold the processes required to hire individuals. So it's not nefarious in the way that a recruiter will actually try to ruin a business. It's that they may intuitively know that even though they bring good people into a company, they're just getting consumed by the system, and they themselves are a part of a process. And we all observe this in some way. And a lot of people describe it the rat race. We go to work every day. A lot of us are not entirely in love with what we do. Even when we do run a business, right? Even when we do run a business and we are even when we are running a business and I lost my train of thought. Just give me a second. So even if we are running a business, yeah, so even if we are, my little camera here just ran out of memory. So even the manager himself, he may not entirely love the business that he's doing, but he himself has to do processes every day because hundreds, or maybe 5, 10, 100 people, or maybe 1,000 people rely on this person, and a process is established. And if anything changed, it can disrupt the lives of so many people involved, including clients. So we can't completely upend everything. And so I would just like to reaffirm that this is not trying to change your practices, but this is a bolt-on feature that could, in the future, indefinitely benefit you in a very functional and tangible manner, in which you'll be able to determine that of which your business needs to do to improve. And I would like to mention this hype about AI, and a lot of people have seen that testimony by Mark Zuckerberg speaking about AI, and everyone's terrified about AI and this and that. Now, AI is not exactly what you think it is. AI is not the correct moniker, but people have been selling this moniker, and a lot of people cannot admit that that's all it is. Most people who are running an AI engine are actually running a deep neural network, or they're running a machine learning network, and there are so many services available. Google has made one, IBM famously has made one called Watson, and a lot of these actually work very well. There's also a lot of custom jobs made, a lot of custom deep neural networks for certain businesses and organizations, and it's not as if they were actual, as if it were handling the whole system in a whole, but basically it's taking information from, let's say, one piece of software. So for example, let's say the sales part of your business, and it will then maybe have an automated follow-up, and then automated invoicing, or there's so many ways to look at it. And from the HR perspective, there is actually the there's actually the chatbots, right? I myself I've sold online. I've done e-commerce as well. Till this day, I have a few businesses running, with steady income, and we do run chatbots as well with our customers because it saves us time. And though the problem is with chatbots, they're extremely impersonal, and a lot of people in HR and recruiting have been talking about the candidate experience. And as a salesman for these online businesses, I've noticed that people have become disgruntled of the brand, and less so people would actually let you know about your failure and disgruntlement in conversation with the candidate experience, because they need something of you. And if they were to speak ill will of your business during the candidate experience, it's outside of the mode of behavior that's required to get hired. And if someone is competent and intelligent, they won't talk about it. And these chatbots, they fundamentally hurt qualified individuals in businesses. Let's say, for example, let's go through it right now. So you've been applying for jobs. Let's say, for example, your organization has gone out of business. I don't know. Let's say because of whatever issue, but you're a very qualified candidate, and you go and you sit down, you start applying for jobs. You speak to everyone you know in your network, but let's say it's a down market, right? And you're competent, and then you've gotten a few offers. They're maybe not as great as you like, and maybe you keep looking, right? And let's say the organization that you are looking for, the one that is perfect, you find that it's giving you these chatbots, right? You're speaking to a chatbot and not to a real person, and you're just astounded. you're a person who's being hired for $100,000 plus per year salary, and you're speaking to a robot. There's a lot of what a lot of people don't realize is those who are in the upper echelon of careers have an ego, right? It's not a bad thing. They have a certain self-image. They were responsible. They were managers, and for them the emotional response of actually speaking to a bot is just terrible, and that just ties to why we have this other product. It's about what I would be described as career hacking, and we have this concierge service which helps people of a certain company. It doesn't matter where they are, but help them apply to jobs in an automated fashion, and doing sentiment analysis on a lot of different engines, to when they go to speak with bots and things like this, to really climatize them to communicate, speak effectively, and really embolden those competencies out of their resume, out of their abilities. So when they go to look for a job, and we help them do it in very high volume, to get them better jobs more frequently. And a lot of people who have actually remained on it, they don't unsubscribe because we always help them find new opportunities. And that's, even though the name brand opportunity, it's just a common word, but it's literally it's the fundament of what we're actually doing. We're constantly seeking opportunity. I don't know about you, but I've worked in businesses where transparency, honesty, and clarity were not at the forefront. A lot of conniving, a lot of Machiavellianness, and it hurts, right? And a lot of us don't even know how to behave when someone is being manipulative. We don't know how to address this. And some of the best people, they just fall victim to those monsters within a company, and it's just really sad to hear. It shouldn't be like that, right? We don't want people who are hurtful inside our business, but they might even be our middle managers. They might even be senior management, and maybe the person at the top is completely incompetent themselves. So, a lot of statistics have come out that, managers are quite, and I shouldn't say quite, but it's actually just terrifying if you find out what the competency of managers are on average through different organizations. And one of the reasons why they move up is because of their personality profile, right? These individuals, a lot of the time, are extroverted. They're not bumped up because of their core competencies. They may be more sophisticated at relationship building, right? In a lot of sales organizations, the sales make way more than the managers do, right? And you would think, a person's a manager. Why would they earn less? But that's loyalty to competency, and that's why I don't think the sales profession will ever disappear. Is for that very reason. You are rewarded based on your competency, and that competency is salesman. So you look inside your business, and maybe it's not a sales organization, but in some facet, every single business is. If people who are competent and they're getting beat down, or they feel like they're getting overlooked, they may not even say anything if they're an introvert, right? Or if they're high in agreeableness. They may just walk away. And what happens? You lose these great people. And so it's very important that you reward people effectively. But how do you identify it? You can't. You can in some way if someone is wise, but you tell me, where are these wise people? So I would like to say that this is very this is going to be a very intuitive way for you to find competencies within your organization, and it's a very simple and basic concept, and I look forward to talking to you more about it. So send an email at info@opportunity.to. And a lot of the time, when there's a culture fail or people are dishonest or there's things going on in the business that just shouldn't be, communication breaks down, and people start to have negative emotions within the company and within the business, and people just don't want to get along. Teamwork starts to break down. Interactions start to get reduced. There's less interaction because people fear of losing face, and there's less productivity and there's less teamwork, right? Like all these, like a lot of organizations will, they'll keep cheering on how important teamwork is, but when you go inside the actual business, it's basically teamwork forced in tyrannical fashion, where the one who's dominates is the one who dominates socially, is the one who calls the shots, and that has nothing to do with competency. So you bring someone into the business, and they don't know anything. It doesn't matter if they got an MBA or if they're an engineer or whatever, how many years experience, they don't know about your business, right? They need to climatize, and they need to get adjusted to how things are going. And because for people who are greater in competencies, they have way more opportunity. Everyone is trying to get a piece of them. And so a lot of people are noticing that careers are the career cycles are shortening. And Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, he describes as a tour of duty. He has in fact a whole book based on this very idea, this tour of duty. And Google CEO Schmidt had also mentioned and described this tour of duty in admirations of Hoffman's observation, where he won't expect anyone to work greater than something like 3 years. He's just astounded if they stay longer. But people come to the business, and the statistic is it takes about 6 people to get used to how the business actually functions, and to pick up on the knowledge base. And a lot of people use these retrieval systems to actually a lot of businesses use these retrieval systems to educate or whatever, but people still have a million questions, right? And it's because the world is changing so quickly, it's next to impossible to maintain a sophisticated training induction program. So that's another reason why you should take a look at what we have to offer. So info@opportunity.to. And a lot of people are very dissatisfied with HR, but you have to understand that they're just they're a functional process of the organization. It's almost like it's a top-down delegation of certain operations from top management, and so the behavior of the HR will reflect that of the intentions of top management. And a lot of people are very disappointed with how HR functions, but it's it's not necessarily their fault. They fall into a process of the paradigm that exists within an organization, and that's one of the reasons why this is a very great way for people to fall in love with HR again, because in some way HR is going to change, and I would like to call out a new title. So I think it would be called Human Resources Data and Applications Manager. Applications meaning as software applications. Applications and Services Manager. Because, with things like Zenefits, it hasn't really, come to fruition here in the East, like Hong Kong and, other areas. But, for United States, Zenefits is just, it's an amazing human resources platform. It really simplifies the life of people who are in human resources. They feel like they're doing less paper work, and they can focus on the human side of actually doing human resources. And I've mentioned this in the beginning of the lecture here is, hiring into a broken organization is like bringing quality people into a blender. See quality characters reduced to that which exists in your current paradigm. I don't know how I could say it any better. All right? And and that's it. So I'd like to thank everyone for listening, and I'm going to be doing this every week, and I invite anybody who here in Hong Kong who is willing to come here to Connaught Road in Central, and it's going to be from 5:10, because I need a few minutes to set up, till 6 o'clock. And of course, afterwards we can go for a coffee or whatever. And I look forward to meeting you, and I want to help your organizations. Otherwise, I wish you all the best, and take care. Bye-bye.